In December of 1990, the people of Toronto were preparing to celebrate the Christmas holidays. But as they went about shopping for their loved ones, they could not forget about the 12 young women who had been brutally raped in the past 3 years. They were also well aware that the man who had committed these terrible crimes was still out there. At their home in Scarborough, a suburb of Toronto, the Homolka family was throwing a party for their daughter Carla. She had become engaged to Paul Bernardo. Good-looking and bright, Carla's parents found him to be the perfect son-in-law. Her sister, 15-year-old Tammy Homolka, was allowed to stay up late that night. Paul, in love with his new video camera, was taking pictures all night long.
Here we go. Okay. Well, that's so cute. Zoom close up.
Wow. Later that evening, when Carla's mother and father had gone to bed, Carla and Paul continued to celebrate. Her sister Tammy stayed up with them. She also continued to drink. Around 2 a.m. that morning, a friend of Carla's received a startling phone call.
We got a phone call. It was Carla. She was calling. She sounded distraught. She did say that her sister had died, and she started crying. It was very unclear how she died.
Carla told police, "We were drinking. I heard Tammy making a choking sort of noise. I saw vomit coming from her mouth. I sat her up and pulled her tongue out so that she wouldn't swallow it. I pumped twice on her chest, but there was no response." Later that night, Tammy's body was taken to Hamilton General Hospital to be autopsied. The local pathologist said that in his opinion, the young woman had died from asphyxia. She had choked on her own vomit. It was speculated that the huge burn on her face had probably been caused by stomach acid. The next day, a funeral was held for 15-year-old Tammy Homolka. Her friends and family were visibly shocked at the young girl's tragic accident.
Paul would not leave her side. He kept calling her, "This is my angel. She's my angel. Oh, she's going to be our angel." And he would play with her hair. He wouldn't leave her alone. It was very dramatic. It was quite a powerful evening.
About 2 months after the funeral, a bereaved Carla and Paul rented a house in the town of Port Dalhousie. They seemed happy, but suddenly their friends began to notice a change in Paul's behavior.
Paul was getting more and more bizarre as time went on. The last time he came over, he was very, very drunk, and he looked at me, and I said, "Paul, what do you do?" And he looked at me with the craziest look. He said to me, "You wouldn't believe what I did if I told you. You wouldn't believe what I can do." I felt it down into my heart. It was something just so evil. It was frightening.
In April, another young woman was attacked leaving her school. But unlike the others, she was able to give a partial description of the man who raped her. She described him as a tall, blond man in his 20s. Paul Bernardo, like hundreds of other young men, seemed to fit the description. So he was brought down to RCMP headquarters. There he was interviewed and left a sample of his blood. Police felt that he was cooperative and forthcoming and did not consider him a suspect. In June of 1991, when everything had settled down, Paul and Carla finally got married.
They were just so crazy about each other. She was totally infatuated with him. We really kind of understood that they were this Donald and Ivana Trump kind of couple, that he was to be the provider and she was going to be taken care of. And they both seemed to like that role.
But on the very day of their wedding, in another part of town, the body of a teenage girl was found. She had been dismembered, and her hands, legs, and even her head had been removed from her torso and placed in blocks of cement. She was later identified as a 15-year-old girl named Leslie Mahaffey. The sexual attack showed the same pattern of behavior as all the others, except for one detail. The rapist, who had been prowling the streets for over 4 years, had now turned to cold-blooded murder. After their wedding, Paul and Carla went to Hawaii for their honeymoon. It was a romantic trip. Their videos show a couple infatuated with one another. Shortly after they returned to their home in Port Dalhousie, another brutal murder took place. The body of 15-year-old Kristen French was found in the woods. She had been choked to death with an electrical cord, but she would be the last victim.
Excuse us?
On February 1st, 1993, after 2 years, an overwhelmed and understaffed forensic lab finally sent police the results of their blood tests. The DNA evidence matched one person, the 28-year-old Paul Bernardo. But the authorities still had unfinished business. They were sure that Paul Bernardo had killed Leslie Mahaffey and Kristen French, but did not have the evidence to prove it. Until his wife, Carla, walked into the Metropolitan Police Station.
Said to me, "Do you realize what I could do to you right now?"
There, she told detectives that she was frightened for her life.
I could tell.
Hospital pictures showed that Paul Bernardo had beaten her unmercifully. She told detectives that he made her commit unspeakable acts, and that if she didn't, he threatened to kill her.
I want to do everything I can for you to put that bastard away forever. He doesn't even deserve to live, but I want him to rot in jail because dying's too good for him.
It was just a matter of days before it was apparent to the police, and at least in Metro, that she could give them a lot more than evidence of her being battered as a wife.
The police made a deal with Carla. They said, "Tell us all you know and help us convict Paul Bernardo for murder, and we will give you a break in your sentence." Carla agreed and spent the next 5 days giving a videotaped confession. In this tape, Carla talks about the murder of Leslie Mahaffey.
I know she was very scared because I'm pretty sure she knew that she was going to die. And she was crying and saying, "I just want to see my little brother again." I gave her a teddy bear to hold on to comfort her. And Paul